Okay, now for this poor little set. I looked and I looked, but I could not find the back for it. Which is a real shame because underneath this dirt, looks to be in pretty darn good shape. And the more I look at it, the more this pink and white color scheme is really growing on me. And this is a fairly uncommon set. Whoa! Like everything else, all the screws are missing. It's a Sonora. And Sonoras were made in Chicago, not exactly one of your top brands, and they went out of business in around 1960. So this set was probably made within a couple years of them going out of business. I'm not exactly sure what the model is. Looks like this should be bent down and these little tabs go in there. It's just a really nifty look, and I like the dimensions of it. Probably a 10-inch picture. Just a little dinky pink and white, black and white TV. Little fold-out leg underneath. I gotta figure out how this should be mounted and get this thing secure before something breaks. Now, it seems impossible that there could be a spare back floating around out there, but you never know, so I'll ask and see what happens. What's going on with this? It's like an odd thing to have attached like that. Power, antenna. Oof, these tubes are dead, that's for sure. Tip's broken off this one, and this one's got all white inside. No big deal, I got spare tubes. Not that I'm going to fire this up right now, I'm just saying. So, you know what I want to do, of course, is test the CRT. Jeez, even that's loose. I'm amazed this thing's as intact as it is, all things considered. Paint's in pretty darn good shape, too. No, I suppose if one was ambitious enough, one could fabricate a new back for this. Top on this is kind of funky. This thing must have ran pretty hot, so they just have all as many slots as they could, and then a piece of wire mesh to keep crap from falling inside the set, I guess. Nifty telescoping antennas, too. Fit snugly right around the handle. So, I imagine the back would be something pretty close to the little 10-inch Admiral backs. Piece of metal that would fit snugly around here and kind of hold the whole thing together. And obviously with some holes drilled out here for these controls, rectangular cutout for that and for that. But I mean, I don't know how one would go about taking a flat piece of metal and then bending it around such that it would fit perfectly around the outline of this. It seems like a lot of work. It was pretty easy to slide the chassis out, so got out of the way. Now I can finally see the CRT number. Now, I don't know if this is the only or the original mounting system. So we got a ring around here with some rubber on it and a spring on the top and bottom. Not the most secure thing though, because I can just do this, deflect it. There's some blocking around the top and bottom. I don't know. I don't know if that's all that was there originally, but I'll just leave it alone. So it is the Echo Tube Company. Never heard of them. And it's a 10ABP4, which is exactly the same as the Admiral 10-inch sets. And it's from 1964. Probably a replacement. Could be a rebuild. There's a bit of a lump here. Probably is. Getter looks nice and shiny. It's a good sign. Base is quite loose though. Be very careful when I took the socket off. Alright, so I'll test that in a minute. There's the chassis. I was able to bend this cover back over and close the back door, so the high voltage area is all secured now. Ugly looking capacitor here. It's probably the main filter cap. A couple selenium rectifiers for a voltage doubler right off the AC line, no doubt. Probably a filament dropping resistor here. Or here. All these portable sets are kind of the same. Doesn't look like a whole lot's been done to it. Wish I could find a model number though. Sonora service info isn't exactly easy to come by. Took a quick look at my riders and it's pretty sketchy. I looked in the later editions. I think the riders go up to around 59 or 60. And the last few editions, well, I didn't look through all of them yet, so I shouldn't say it's not in there, but I looked from like volumes 20 to 25 or so and didn't find it. I still got, it goes up to 28, I think, so I haven't given up yet. Otherwise, they're Sam's, of course. Just when you don't know the model number, it can be a little tricky to figure out which service info you need. And without it, there is no hope of this ever working again. Oh wow, a whole bunch of caps hidden down in here. Another big ugly looking electrolytes. Several of those cardboard tube big electrolytics and some others down in there. Alright. Well, no doubt that would be loads of fun to work on. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's see if the CRT's any good. Also, I cleaned up the cabinet a little bit. It's actually not quite in as good a condition as I thought at first. Underneath the dirt there is corrosion and the paint's starting to lift up. Which is kind of a shame. Even so, I think it looks better. Alright, let's give this a try. Yep, it's glowing. Climbing. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, I had a feeling since this was rebuilt, or at least a new CRT maybe, installed in 64, it might very well test very good. So, if I do abandon all hope of this, that I could at least use this CRT in one of my little Admiral 10-inch sets. Awesome life test, too. If you recall, I got a two-tone green one recently with a pretty weak CRT. And even my orange and white one isn't the greatest. So, if nothing else, it's a nice score, but I would really like to restore this set if at all possible. I never actually looked for Sonora portable sets. There might be one on eBay right now for all I know. I guess I'll set up a search and ask around and see see if anything shows up. Well, I finished cleaning it up and I put it back together as best I could. So I got screws on the bottom holding the chassis in firm, and put some screws around the sides of the cabinet. Not exactly the prettiest screws, but they'll do. One of these days I gotta find a source for those nice looking, first we'll call them like appliance screws. Basically sheet metal screws that have big flat heads that are smoothed over, which is the really small Phillips type screw in the center. That's what the Admirals use. Anyways, here it is. So, like I said, I got some surface corrosion, but it looks a hell of a lot better than it did. And the antenna is in really nice shape, too. As is this handle. Cleaned it up a little bit with some Novus. A little discoloring here and there, but imagine with a bit more polishing. Take care of that. So, I finished looking through all the riders' service manuals, and none of them have a mention of this. Likewise, I just searched for like Sonora television, Sonora portable TV, and I found that they are selling a Sam's, or somebody is on eBay, that shows some portable sets that look similar to this. And they list the model numbers, and look those same model numbers up in riders, and I do have that volume, but they're a 17-inch set, not a 10-inch set. Tube lineup looks similar though. But the configuration was all different. With the 17-inch set, you got a lot more room, and the stuff was kind of more spread out, whereas this is really compact. So it could be tricky to find the service info. Now, unfortunately, without the back, even with these screws added, it's kind of flimsy. You could really use a reinforcing on the back. But, and then, of course, I'm missing the knobs. But even as is, I think that's a pretty cool looking TV. Other portables that era don't quite have a front like this where it's kind of bulbous and matches the curve of the CRT. So I really hope I can get this working again someday. Here's that Admiral set I was just talking about, to give you some idea of what the difference is. So same picture tube, and similar design idea, but you can see how the CRT is recessed and the metal bezel overhangs, whereas this one, CRT protrudes and the cabinet curves around to follow it. Alright, we're in the home stretch. And here is some paperwork I grabbed. This, just because I never saw it before, the RCA triple Pindex. Or, I guess that's how you say that. Well, the deal is, inside the book is in 3 sections. So, we got this section, and this. And this. I haven't really looked at it much, so I have no idea what the deal is. It looks to me like they're the same. But why would they make a book that has multiple sections that are the same, unless you could split it apart and pass it around or something like that? Maybe they're not the same. Let's see. Wait, yeah, I think they are. It's from the 12DA6. 1286, yeah. They are the same. There's I can tell. Anybody have any ideas why they would make something like this? I mean, I'm not crazy, right? These 2 sections, or all 3 sections, are identical, right? Well, let's see. Is there any explanation inside? Oh, yes, there is. The RCA triple Pindex gives base diagrams for more than 2,000 JEDEC registered receiving teams. Blah blah blah. Oh, okay. It's just that simple. So if you want to look at a tube like a 12BH6 at the same time, and has a 6BY6 and a classic CL6, you can just have it, instead of having 3 books or try to remember it, you just have 3 sections open. Alright, that's cute. Alright, so this I grabbed, was it's for Sentinel radios. Sentinel's not quite as obscure as Sonora, but Sentinel TVs aren't all that common. Sentinel radios are very collectible, especially the colorful plastic ones. So I figured, what the heck, I might as well grab this. I don't have any Sentinel radios, but it might be useful to somebody out there. But these are a lot higher quality and easier to read than the Riders service info. And this just looked interesting. Melvin Electronics, Oak Park, Illinois, back in the day. Probably about 1960, that's where most of this stuff seems to be dated from. So, chock full of things that I would like to have but can no longer order. Tools, transformers, blonder tongue, equipment, antennas, racks, cable, so on and so forth. Tons of transformers and caps. And let's see if you can get 1.5 picofarad caps back in the day. No, not exactly. You get 1, 2, and 3. It's close to 1.5. And that's a mica. Ceramic trimmers will go down to 1 picofarad. Alright, what else? Oh, part of a SAM for a set I don't even have, so that's not too useful. Sentinel service doesn't cover my one Sentinel console. I got a Sentinel Model 430. This covers 500 through 564. Always nice to have the original factory service info. This looked kind of interesting. I briefly looked through this when I grabbed it. So if you were a RCA distributor, these were promotional items. Like signs, I'd love to have some of these signs. These sell for so much money. Drawers. Oh, and here's all the clothing. So a shirt with your name on it, a cap. Hanger on the wall for tubes, clocks. Oh, sure, lighters, matches. There's a Zippo with RCA on it. Highball glass. Gotta have one of those. Nail clipper, money clip. Service info. Alright. Now this, I actually got. I got 2 pieces of test equipment. This is one of them. More on that in a bit. These I thought might actually be handy. Especially the picture tube. So, some sets, if the picture tube's bad and I don't have that exact one, you can check in here and see what close matches are available. See if they've got the notorious Predicta 21-inch CRT. Don't think so. Think this is a little bit too old. Predictive CRT. Even so, still handy. And they have some receiving tubes. Fortunately, this stuff got damp. It's all mildewy. And here's a much more comprehensive substitution guide for receiving tubes. And generally speaking, you can get any tube you need off of eBay or from one of the various tube vending websites without too much trouble. I have no auto radios whatsoever, and probably never will, but I figured somebody might be able to use this. So, these are radios that would go in your vehicle. It's probably no good anymore. 50-cent coupon. Let's see, is there here? Alright. 54. Didn't even realize I grabbed this. Did I have any color TVs? Nothing against them, just there's a lot of color TV collectors in my area, and I really have had very few opportunities to get one before those guys grab them. Plus, honestly, they're pretty big, and I don't really have the space for one. Well, something like a GE Portacolor maybe would be fun to tinker around with. Psycho 369. Yep. Used to have one of those. Down photograph needles. Westinghouse 65 training manual. Way newer than the stuff I typically work on. 64. Color TV and color TV. So here is the Sprague quick test. KT1 capacitor checker. Not the kind of thing that I would ever really use, because I've got much better capacitor testers than these, but hey, it's got an eye tube, so how could I resist? So I think you can see the basic operation here. Not much to it, so there's no voltage range. You don't pick whether it's paper or mica or electrolytic or anything. All you got, 2 clip leads. Check to see if it's open, you check to see if it's shorted, and you flip this to test, and you got not an off switch, so pretty darn simple. Nothing on the back, really. Let's take a quick look inside the manual. Might have a schematic in here. Well, there's more to it than I thought. There's actually 2 tubes inside. (1626) tubes. I have no idea what a 1626 is. I wonder if that was World War II surplus and they used them because they were cheap. Well, that's what they look like. They're pretty nifty looking tubes. That's what they would use some type of miniature tube in these. Yeah. Pop this over, take a quick look inside. Oh, here's a look inside. So 1629 eye tube and then a pair of 1626s. I looked up data on these briefly on the internet and was surprised to see that these are RF triodes, typically used as VFOs in transmitters. And I can see they're made by Hytron. And they have military designators on them too. Hytron typically made transmitting equipment. So what else we got? Movie caps, few resistors, ceramic caps. So let's see, we got a power transformer. We got an electrolytic. I don't see a rectifier anywhere. Unless they're using one of these 1625s as a rectifier. That's schematic again. Yeah, they are. Okay. I've seen, like I said, I've seen other test equipment. I tried after World War II where they used goofy tubes that were dirt cheap on the surplus market because they were so obsolete. So they're using one here for the actual functioning of this device, and the other one is just tie the grid to the plate and bingo, you got a rectifier. Could plug it in, but I'd rather not. I don't want one of these caps to pop. Plus, you can imagine what it would do. I mean, you've seen a high tube before. It's just going to glow green and open or close or flutter depending on the type of capacitor it's hooked up to. And finally, we have this little box. I almost passed up on it. In fact, I was close to leaving when the owner said, "Oh, come on, you want to take this, don't you? It's so nice inside." And she's right. She was right. Outside's kind of beat up, but flip this open. Something pretty darn cool inside. Didn't realize what it was at first, till finally I saw that. White dot bar color display generator. It's a Hickok Model 660. So this is basically an early simple version of what this can do and what this can do, which is generate test patterns. I think it can do the white dot, which would be something like that, and color bars, which would be like probably like that. This is a more complex later one where they had some squares down in the lower left corner. And you can do it on channels 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, so it doesn't do the higher frequency channels, 7 through 13. But what's so cool about this is the way it's built. Not just that it's in a box with a hinged lid, but all the parts are sticking right up here in your face when you open the top. Everything from the power transformer, filter chuck, electrolytic, all the tubes, and the crystals, and various switches, and then these giant things, which I believe you can adjust. I haven't tried it yet. Let's give this a shot. Okay, I think these are covers to protect the adjustments underneath. Yep. So there's the actual adjustment. So these are probably high quality potentiometers, like maybe Allen Bradley type J's, and you can adjust them with a screwdriver and then put these over them to protect the settings. So my thinking is that because this is probably really early in the days of color, that they exposed all these controls in case you need to tweak them to make this thing work right. Let's see, we've got, not sure at all what all of these do. I have not looked at the service info, but there are some with some numbers here. So we have 60, 900, 4500, and 15750. Now this would be the horizontal frequency. Oh, and also 31, 500. I'm guessing these others have to do with being multiples of this to create dots or bars and the color at some point. We got a crystal, Bliley. Not sure how it's attached. Okay, it's in a socket, I think. There we go. 1955. Yeah, I mean, if this thing is from 55, the first color TV ever commercially came out in 54. So this might have been right on the tails of that. 315 kilocycles. I'm guessing if you divide this down, you can get a harmonic that's 31,515. Well, yeah, 15,750 is half of 31.5. And then these transformers, or whatever these are, I'm guessing are used to generate harmonics or filter them. There might be some precision bandpass filters. I'm not sure. Let's see, and then we got an adder gain. Not sure what that's all about. Attenuator probably attenuates the video output. Sync clip level and clip level probably have to do with the levels of the sync pulses. CW 3.56. Seems a little odd. Color burst is 3.58. Why are all of these 3.56? Unless you would use that to heterodyne with the 3.58, but that would be 20 kilocycles, which is beyond most people's hearing, so I'm not sure why or how that would be particularly useful. And then we got an RF output with attenuator. And it came with this cable, which was plugged into the RF output, so you could clip this onto your set under test. Don't know if it works. I guess we could try firing it up and see what it can do. Test equipment's usually made pretty reliably using high-grade components, so it's fairly safe. Obviously, there's a multi-suction can electrolytic here, which may have dried out. I don't know, but got my PR57 here, which should protect me in case, me and it, in case anything goes bad. I figured the easiest way to test this is to fire up a color TV, so I dug out my clear plastic case Prism TV. That's set on channel 4, and it's plugged into, this device is plugged into my PR57, so I can check the current when I turn it on. By the way, this device also has a fuse in it, so another reason I'm not too worried about just firing it up. Good sign, current surged up, then went down. As the tubes light up, which they are. Yep, current draw is going up. Cool. Alright, so this is on channel 2, 3, 4, and nothing. Just in the attenuator now. Nothing. I found the manual for it online, and it is indeed from 1955. And they do have pretty detailed instructions, theory of operation, and so on. And it turns out I wasn't using this quite right. When you want to do the RF output, you have to put the polarity to positive and put the 3.56 megacycle CW attenuator to the off position. So I'll give this another try in a moment. So interesting read if you're curious how this works. I downloaded it from the Boat Anchor Manual Archive. I just searched for, I did a Google search on Hickok 660 and I found not only this, but if you want one of your very own, $20 buy it now on eBay. So I guess these aren't exactly rare or valuable. Alright, it's kind of doing something now. But again, when I'll put this in 2 through 5 and scan, this set won't pick it up. And I don't have the remote, so I can't just dial in a channel. I can only put in what it picks up. which would be 6. So this is the dot pattern, and this is supposed to be the bar pattern. At least it's doing something. So, yeah, one of these days I'll print out the manual and maybe go through this and see if I can get it to work any better. Here's something else I just came across on the television history website. They have a section on projection television in the 1940s, and here is my little 3-inch CRT. Wish they had the rest of it because it just says the phosphor coating and then it ends. But there is what one looks like when it's out of the set. And here is another set that uses that same system. So I'd mentioned that protogram system is modular and other manufacturers used it. Well, here is another set. I've seen 1 or 2 of these for sale over the years. I think these are actually more common than the Scott sets. Very similar looking pop-up screen. So, as I was saying, if I ever need to get parts, one source of them could be to scavenge them from another set like this. Now, if you really want to go nuts, here's another projection set that was actually for sale in my area. I think they wanted $200 for it. It's made by U.S. Television. These were made for use in bars. So this hideous looking cabinet is actually covered in leather or leatherette or something like that. And the television controls, I believe, are hidden in the back, and that's a radio there, and then a gigantic screen. So you can see the guy standing next to it. That's the kind of scale we're talking about. So as cool as it would be to have a set like that, where would you put it? The Scott is still out in my car, and I think it's going to stay there until tomorrow. So I think it deserves a dedicated video anyway. But in the meantime, I found this nice website with some good pictures and info about them. I don't know what they mean by in stock, since these were made ages ago, but perhaps they buy and sell vintage electronics. Apparently when they did have one, they were selling it for $1,900. So here's a close-up of what that would look like with a nice intact cabinet. Now mine had no knobs when I showed it earlier. Well, I found a little container with some knobs in it, and I didn't think that these could possibly fit the Scott because they look so odd and they're heavy and they don't match the cabinet that well. But yeah, these are indeed the correct knobs. Now I've only got 4, so that'd be the 4 outer ones, I guess. So I'm missing the channel and fine tuning, so I need that. So it'll be another knob quest. And here's what the insides would look like, all cleaned up. I know Scott did some chrome-plated radio and amp chassis. I don't know if this one is. Might be aluminum, though. It's certainly corrosion-free. And with the cabinet being as damp as it is, I find it hard to believe that there couldn't be any corrosion. Oh, and here's what it looks like with the popped-up screen. The sides. So looks exactly like mine, which is great because it means that I've got some reference info. I already found the service info on the riders as well, and so mine, yeah, it sure is all complete. Let's see, there's a little more info down here. Late 40s from Chicago, Illinois. 31 tubes, wow. And let's see if it's a 19-inch widescreen. Oh, so it's a 23-inch screen, which is Way bigger than any of my little direct view sets. Most of mine are 10-inch sets and 7-inch sets. A few 12s. Alright, so I guess that'll be it for now. I hope you enjoyed this look at some of my latest finds.